Steve Harvey. Just the name itself sparks recognition, laughter, and sometimes debate. But how did a man born in a small town in West Virginia become one of the most recognized faces on global television? This is not just a story of comedy, it is a story of struggle, hustle, mistakes, redemption, and a rise so improbable that it continues to divide opinion even today. The story of Steve Harvey is the story of America's obsession with reinvention, with charisma, with the power of words. But behind that winning smile, the sharp suits, and the quick wit on Family Feud lies a journey that started in the most unlikely places, on smoky stand-up stages, in dingy comedy clubs where nobody knew his name. Let's pull back the curtain and explore in full detail the journey from stand-up clubs to global TV, Steve Harvey's rise. First, follow reminder. If you enjoy deep dives like this, don't forget to follow this channel right now for more fascinating stories. Early life and humble beginnings. Broderick Stephen Harvey, better known today simply as Steve Harvey, was born on January 17, 1957, in Welch, West Virginia. His early life was not glamorous. His family was working class. His father, Jesse Harvey, was a coal miner. His mother, Eloise, raised the children and held the family together. The Harveys didn't have much, but what they lacked in money, they compensated for with faith, discipline, and storytelling. Even as a child, Steve showed signs of the charisma that would later define him. Teachers recall him being the kid who always cracked jokes, who couldn't resist making classmates laugh. But he also had a speech impediment, a stutter. For a boy who would grow up to rely on words for a living, this seemed like an impossible handicap. Yet it was this very obstacle that forged his resilience. Steve once said that he would practice speaking by repeating words into the bathroom mirror, by praying, by forcing himself to overcome the stutter through sheer will. It worked. Over time, he transformed weakness into strength, the first of many transformations in his life. The first taste of comedy, after graduating high school, Steve tried to follow the normal path. He enrolled in college, tried out different jobs, from boxing to insurance sales, from carpet cleaning to mailman. None of it stuck. Deep down, he knew he was meant for more. He was restless. In 1985, something changed. He stepped onto a comedy stage for the very first time. The feeling was electric. It wasn't perfect. He bombed more times than he succeeded in those early years. But he felt alive. He had found the arena where his words mattered, where his humor could transform a room. That was the moment Steve Harvey, the entertainer, was born. The 1980s comedy circuit was not easy. It was brutal. Nights on the road, little money, sleeping in his car because he couldn't afford a hotel. Steve would often recall those years of sleeping in a 1976 Ford, surviving off bologna sandwiches, showering at gas stations or public pools. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And here is where the controversy comes in. Many in his family, and even his friends, told him he was being irresponsible, that he was chasing a pipe dream. Imagine the pressure. A man in his late 20s, broke, hungry, no stability, and yet he kept pushing forward. Some call it reckless, others call it visionary. That tension is what defines Steve Harvey's rise. The breakthrough. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, Steve started gaining recognition. He was invited to perform on Showtime at the Apollo, a platform that introduced him to millions. His sharp humor, his ability to connect with the audience, and his storytelling made him stand out. Soon, he was a headliner on the comedy circuit. But the big breakthrough came when he was cast in The Steve Harvey Show in 1996. It was a sitcom about a former funk musician turned high school teacher. The show ran until 2002 and became a cornerstone of black sitcom culture. For many, this was their first introduction to Harvey as more than just a stand-up comic. He became a household name. Still, the sitcom world was competitive. Compared to shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Family Matters, Steve Harvey's sitcom wasn't always in the spotlight. but it carved out a loyal audience, especially among African-American households. And Steve himself? He learned the discipline of television production, of timing jokes for a live audience, of becoming a brand. Second follow reminder, if this journey inspires you, remember, hit that follow button so you never miss the next story. The Kings of I. Comedy, perhaps the defining moment of Steve Harvey's stand-up career, came with the original Kings of Comedy. Alongside Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hewley, and Bernie Mac, Harvey went on tour in 1997. The show sold out arenas. This was unprecedented. 4 black comedians filling basketball stadiums with laughter. The tour was later turned into a Spike Lee-directed film in 2000, The Original Kings of Comedy. Steve was not the edgiest of the group. Bernie Mac's rawness often grabbed the spotlight, but Harvey was the host, the glue that held it all together. His ability to transition between acts, to keep the energy high, to make the audience feel like they were part of the family, that was his gift. But the Kings of Comedy tour also sparked debate. Some critics argued it reinforced stereotypes. Others hailed it as a revolutionary moment in American comedy, proving that black comedians could dominate mainstream stages on their own terms. That controversy, again, fueled Harvey's growing legend. Reinvention, from comedy to hosting. By the mid-2000s, many comedians from Steve's generation had faded, but Harvey refused to disappear. He reinvented himself as a host. First came the Steve Harvey Morning Show, a radio program that mixed comedy, interviews, and inspirational commentary. The show exploded in popularity, especially among black audiences across the United States. Then came Family Feud. When Steve Harvey took over as host in 2010, the show was struggling. Ratings were down, and many felt the format was outdated. But Harvey brought something new: personality. His facial reactions, his witty comebacks, his sometimes controversial comments. He turned Family Feud into must-watch television again. Clips of Harvey reacting to outrageous answers went viral before viral was even a trend. It was here that Steve Harvey became a global figure. Audiences from the Philippines to Africa, from Europe to South America, were sharing Steve Harvey moments. He was no longer just an American comedian. He was a universal entertainer. Third follow reminder. If you're enjoying this and want more untold stories of icons, don't forget to follow the channel right now. The Miss Universe scandal. No story of Steve Harvey's rise would be complete without addressing one of the most infamous live TV moments in history, the Miss Universe 2015 pageant. Harvey was the host. The world was watching. And in one fateful moment, he announced the wrong winner. He first crowned Miss Columbia, only to return minutes later to admit he had misread the card. The real winner was Miss Philippines. The scene was chaotic, emotional, unforgettable. The backlash was immediate. Social media exploded with memes, with anger, with laughter. Some said his career was finished. Others defended him, calling it a human mistake. What's undeniable is that this moment cemented Steve Harvey as one of the most talked-about TV hosts in the world. And here's the twist. Instead of killing his career, the scandal made him even more famous. This is the paradox of Steve Harvey. His mistakes become his milestones. His failures feed his fame. Few entertainers could survive such a blunder, let alone thrive afterward. But Harvey did. Author, motivator, mogul beyond comedy and hosting, Steve Harvey expanded into writing. His book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, became a bestseller and later a film adaptation. The book gave relationship advice, controversial, funny, sometimes criticized, but widely read. This is where Harvey shifted into the role of motivator. He began giving speeches, talking about faith, perseverance, dreams. Clips of him preaching about success, about not giving up, began circulating on YouTube and TikTok. Some saw him as a source of inspiration. Others accused him of being hypocritical, of simplifying complex issues. Again, controversy fueled attention. Harvey also invested in businesses, in fashion, in philanthropy. He built the Steve and Marjorie Harvey Foundation, supporting youth education and mentoring. He didn't just want to be a comedian or a host. He wanted to be a mogul. Global reach today, Steve Harvey is not just an American star, he's a global brand. He hosts shows in Africa, he collaborates with international figures, and his image as a sharp-dressed, faith-driven entertainer resonates worldwide. But this global reach also brings global scrutiny. Some criticize his views on gender roles, on religion, on politics. Others see him as a modern success story, a black man from poverty who climbed to the highest peaks of entertainment. What cannot be denied is this: Steve Harvey has become a cultural phenomenon. Fourth follow reminder: if this global journey fascinates you, go ahead and follow this channel right now so you can keep exploring with us. The legacy of reinvention. What makes Steve Harvey different from so many others? Reinvention. He is not the best comedian of all time. He is not the most flawless TV host, but he adapts. He survives. He turns mistakes into momentum. From a stuttering boy in West Virginia to a broke stand-up comic sleeping in his car. From sitcom actor to king of comedy. From radio host to global television personality. His journey is a blueprint for resilience, but it is also a mirror of society. We live in a culture that loves comeback stories, that thrives on controversy, that rewards authenticity, even if flawed. Steve Harvey embodies all of that. Conclusion. So what can we learn from Steve Harvey's rise? That sometimes the road to greatness is paved with mistakes. That laughter can be a weapon. That reinvention is survival. And that controversy, if handled with charisma, can build legends. Steve Harvey's story is not over. He continues to evolve, to inspire, to provoke debate. Love him or hate him, you cannot ignore him. Fifth follow reminder: if you've made it this far, you clearly love great stories. So do us a favor. Follow this channel for more deep dives into fascinating lives. And remember, from stand-up clubs to global TV, Steve Harvey's rise is proof that no matter where you start, reinvention is always possible. His journey is living evidence that humor, resilience, and faith can carry you from obscurity to worldwide recognition.